Coming up on Nittany Nation, Penn State football is less than a week away from its Thursday night opener. We'll get you set for kickoff against Purdue, plus a full season preview, what to expect from Manny's new defense, and how critical that will be to Penn State's success. And we'll sit down with new athletic director Pat Kraft, who says he hopes to energize Penn State athletics. It's another season of Nittany Nation as Penn State gets set to open the 2022 season, and we open our show tonight in our brand new digs. Let's kick it off right. Welcome inside the new look Nittany Nation studio. I'm Andrew Clay. She is Anderley Penwell, and we are back again for another season of Nittany Nation, your weekly Penn State football show that's in more than 7 million homes across the region.
If you're new to the program, we are here each week with a preview of the Nittany Lions matchup, and with the Thursday night kickoff today, this will serve as the preseason show and their Purdue preview.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Boilermakers a little bit later, but Anderley, Maya Angelou said, if you don't know where you've come from, you don't know where you're going.
So poetic.
Thank you, I try. So let's take a quick stroll back into 2021. It was October 2nd, Penn State routing Indiana in a 24-0 shutout, capping off a 5-0 start. Penn State began the season with a shutout and 2 top 25 wins, jumping inside the top 5 nationally. It would soon unravel, though. Sean Clifford was injured in the 23-20 loss at Iowa, and the offense never looked the same. A deflating 9 overtime loss to Illinois was part of 3 straight losses, as Penn State lost 6 of its final 8, including a 24-10 loss to Arkansas in the Outback Bowl. The team finished the year 7-6. And Anderley, while Penn State's defense was stout, among the best in the nation, the offense never found its groove. Just 25 points per game, ranks 90th in college football, and Penn State ranked in the bottom 15 in both rushing yards per game and yards per carry. Kevon Lee, he appears to be the front horse, with Noah Cain transferring to LSU. And Anderley, we've heard over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, this team will run the ball better. But it couldn't be much worse, right?
No. No matter what the run looks like, you and I both know the season will live and die on the arm of quarterback Sean Clifford. Back for his 6 millionth season, he's one of a handful of extra seniors, or redshirt senior plus, in college football, and he's set to break about every Penn State passing record because of the longevity. We've talked so much about how a second year in Mike Yurcich's system will be beneficial for Clifford. It's the first time in his career he's had the same offensive coordinator in back-to-back seasons.
It's one of the biggest reasons I came back, and one of the reasons I was most excited to come back was just because Coach Yurcich was going to be here again. I was going to be able to not have to learn another terminology of the same concept or work through a different offensive scheme. It's just the same terms, the same way of approaching it, the same communication, and just adding a bunch of things to bring that mastery to life.
Clifford will have an array of talented pass catchers to throw to. Mitchell Tinsley, the Western Kentucky transfer, finished with more than 1,400 receiving yards last year. And the team returns Parker Washington and Keandre Lambert-Smith. So even with Jahan Dotson going to the NFL, the offense looks plenty talented, but the real significant change on the roster really is on the defensive side of the ball.
4 of the team's 7 drafted players in this year's lineup on the Nittany Lions defense, so the total Penn State lost 6 starters on defense. And the team lost defensive coordinator Brent Pry, but he's now on to the bigger and better things, the head coach at Virginia Tech. Pry's departure ushers in the Manny Diaz era. Diaz spent the last 6 years coaching his alma mater, Miami. He is the father of the turnover chain, and his Hurricanes were in the top 40 in college football in takeaways in 4 of 6 seasons.
I think every defensive coordinator across the country tries to preach the same things. I don't think anybody's saying let's not get turnovers. But you got to do a great job versus the run. You got to create negative plays because you got to put people in long yardage situations, right? This is a fact. The most turnovers happen on 3rd down and long because the offense has to put the ball basically in harm's way.
In the middle of that defense will be big number 97. PJ Mustafer is back. The defensive tackle was hurt in the Iowa loss and missed the rest of the season. He rejoined the squad back in the fall and is expected, I shouldn't say back in the fall, when fall camp started, and is expected to be ready for the opener. We spoke with him just this week. He said the silver lining in all of this is that he comes back a better leader.
Guys were able to see me going through something. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't just PJ the football player. I became PJ the person, and they got to see that side of me. So, you know, for that, I gained a lot of experience. They got to see that, and we grew from that. They helped me, and it just brought us together.
When we come back, we'll get into Purdue, why the Boilermakers are a sneaky good team coming into this season.
Plus, an impressive recruiting class could be impactful for Penn State this year. I'll talk about that when Nittany Nation Game Day preview show returns.
You're watching Nittany Nation Game Day.
Drew Brees threw for nearly 12,000 yards at Purdue, and Anderley, here's a fun fact. Did you know he had 0 wins over Penn State? Not a single one. Our Nittany Nation Rewind takes us back to September 30th, 2000. The Nittany Lions defense held on in a 22-20 win over the Boilermakers. Eric McCoo rushed for more than 100 yards as Penn State's win dropped Drew Brees to 0-3 all-time against Penn State as a starter. Such a tremendous football player and such an uncanny and unusual stat there. Purdue's current quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, another 6-year quarterback, will make his first start against Penn State coming up in this opener.
Yeah, he's also old, but his first real significant
You're harsh on these guys.
They're like a little bit younger than me, so I think it's funny to make fun of them, of course. They're not that old. They're so young.
You got to prompt it already.
But Aiden O'Connell will get his first significant action against Penn State, having just 1 passing attempt against the Nittany Lions back in 2019. O'Connell was really, really special last year. He was second in the Big Ten in passing, only trailing CJ Stroud. He threw for 3,700 yards and 28 touchdowns. His 71.8 completion percentage ranks 4th among FBS quarterbacks. Purdue did lose leading receiver David Bell. He was 2nd among all Big Ten receivers last year in yards and receptions, but the Boilermakers added 9 transfers last season, including former Nittany Lion defensive tackle Cole Brevard.
Penn State has their own transfers, a trio who should all make a significant impact. Penn State hopes defensive end Chop Robinson fills and replicates Arnold Ebiketti's success. Mitchell Tinsley, as we said, had more than 1,400 receiving yards last year, and offensive lineman Hunter Norzad started 20 games at right tackle for Cornell. And to top this all off, and on top of these transfers, Penn State landed an impressive recruiting class.
Lions 247 Sports graded Penn State's recruiting class as the 6th best in the country. Penn State has a number of really talented freshmen who could make an impact this year. Danny Dennis-Sutton and Zane Durant could see time on the defensive line, while Drew Allar is in the mix to be Sean Clifford's backup. But the buzz really revolves around Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, a pair of running backs who could see action right away.
They've been really good, really both of them. Obviously there's been a lot of conversations about Nick Singleton, but him and Katron, there's a buzz within our program about those 2 guys and what they're doing.
Let's talk about some notable matchups if Penn State passes the Purdue sniff test. Anderley, the big matchup here in the first half of the season is at Michigan.
Penn State's toughest road games are these first 3 at Purdue, Auburn, and Michigan, and then it's pretty friendly schedules with no back-to-back road games, and Ohio State and Michigan State both come into Happy Valley.
Well, if you want to see the full schedule, it's up right now on our new Nittany Nation app. You can use that QR code on your screen to download it. The Nittany Nation app is available on both Apple and Android devices.
Back in the spring, Penn State announced it would have a new athletic director as Sandy Barber stepped down.
Yeah, in July, Pat Kraft began his tenure as the school's new AD. I sat down with him for an exclusive one-on-one.
I want us to have our juice back. I want the 750,000 alums and the fans of Penn State to have that swagger again and have that energy.
Like many fans, Pat Kraft harkens back to the good old days.
I came here because of who Penn State and what Penn State is all about. And I'm not here to mess around, and I want to be able to lead the department and get us to what I believe is we're the best department in the country. And what do we have to do? Go back to winning national championships, Big Ten championships.
An Illinois native, Kraft got to know the Nittany Lions in the 90s during Penn State's early years in the Big Ten. He played college football for Indiana, but a lot has changed since then. Heck, a lot has changed since he arrived in Happy Valley.
My first day on the job was the UCLA-USC vote. That, my jaw dropped, just as a fan of college sports.
The current wave of expansion could be just the tip of the iceberg, as conference realignment on a grander scale has long been rumored, though Kraft isn't quite sure a Power 5 split is in the cards.
I don't know. I really don't know. I'd be silly if I made a comment in regards to that, because who knows, right?
Realignment and NIL are two of the biggest issues facing all universities, but at Penn State, the Beaver Stadium project might be the biggest of his tenure, as the school decides whether or not to build a new home for Penn State football or remodel its existing one.
I'm one of those people. I love coming from the airport at night and seeing our logo up on the stadium and the lion face just staring me as I come out. It's an iconic building with so much great tradition and history.
Given the weight of everything you just said and about how iconic the facility is there pressure? Do you feel pressure to get it right?
No. I don't feel. Look at it. Whatever we decide is going to be based on factual, what's right for the institution.
As a football guy, Kraft has seemingly earned a quick rapport with football coach James Franklin, two charismatic guys known for high energy as a promising pairing.
Back during media day, James Franklin called you a fighter. What did he mean by that?
Well, I'm going to say I'm relentless. I'm passionate. I would like to say passionate. But I appreciate him saying that. But I'm going to do everything I can for Penn State. And I'm going to have, and I tell our athletes this, I tell our staff, I'm going to have your back regardless. But I'm here for Penn State. And I'm here to do what's right for Penn State. That's my job.
Kraft certainly has plenty of energy. Well, we're going to step away, but when we come back, it's time to go one-on-one with Neil Riddell of the Altoona Mirror.
And a little later, we'll wrap up the show with our players to watch on both sides of the ball this season, who we think the next great Penn State linebacker is when Nittany Nation Game Day continues.
You're watching Nittany Nation Game Day.
We go one-on-one now with the Altoona Mirror's Neil Riddell. He also co-hosts Nittany Nation Overtime. That's Sundays at 11:30 in Altoona, Johnstown, and State College. Or you can catch the Nittany Nation podcast stream, and we'll drop Overtime this year every Monday morning. Neil, I want to start off first. 25 years now of Nittany Nation Overtime. You guys called it Nitwits once upon a time. How special is this milestone?
Well, it's just so much fun. And, everybody in this region loves the Penn State topic, loves to follow Penn State football and talk about it. We really appreciate WTAJ. We do have humble roots, so we started at the public access channel, but Mark Brennan and I, and we have a whole host of great guests this year of people becoming in former players, so just looking forward to it. We always enjoy it.
Yeah, with our new podcast stream now, everyone in every corner of the world can catch Nittany Nation Overtime. Again, we're going to drop that on Monday mornings. Now let's talk about the Nittany Lions and the actual football team. I think there are two real themes that we look at this year. It's Sean Clifford and whether he bounces back and whether or not Penn State kind of reloads under Manny Diaz. Which do you think is the most important headline to focus on?
Well, I think there's a lot of questions. I know people were very excited about what they're going to be defensively. But, with a new coordinator, and I realize Manny Diaz has a lot of experience, you have new linebackers, a new middle linebacker that'll be calling the defensive signals. Right away at Purdue, very much a pass-heavy offense. I see guys, I know the secondary, everybody's high on the secondary. Joey Porter's a projected high-round draft pick, but he got hit with some pass interference calls last year. Purdue generally scores in the high 30s, low 40s. I think it's going to be a major test in a night game atmosphere, a blackout at Purdue. I think the defense, because I think, and goes back generations of Penn State football. When the offense struggles, it's somewhat expected. When the defense struggled, it's a crisis.
That's a really good way of putting it. Who's the one player you don't think we spent enough time talking about this offseason?
Well, it might be P.J. Mustipher because he's coming back from injury. He's a projected high-round draft pick, deep football roots, brother in the NFL, great leader. And when P.J. and Sean Clifford were healthy last year, Penn State was rolling. They were in the top 5, had a quality win at Wisconsin. Same as you have to turn around now and go to Purdue in a Big Ten opener on the road. And I know Penn State, the history is, it seems, that they open on the road, and they're getting to be some pretty tough openers. But, I think that, Mustipher, returning healthy, I'm anxious to see how he does.
We are talking with the Altoona Mirror's Neil Riddell. Offensive line, I think it's the most, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the position we all love to complain about. No team is ever happy about their offensive line. Is there reason to believe that this unit will be better than it was last year?
I think so. We spent some time with Phil Troutwine at Media Day. Pretty calm. He was the reference when he was on the Florida team. He was on the national championship team as a player at Florida. Played with Tim Tebow, and they were really a rock'em sock'em running offense, and they want to do that. But at times they just have not had a good enough line. This is his 3rd year. I think that things are taking hold. They have some young prospects that they're real high on, and they have some other guys that have been around. So they have a good, mix of youth and experience.
I believe the over-under for the season by the sports bettors is 8.5.
Yeah.
Okay, are you taking the over?
Yeah, I took 8.
Or the under?
I'll be happy to be wrong. It'll be a little more positive.
It's always a safe bet to go under and be proven wrong.
You're open. Your first 3 road games are Purdue, Auburn, and Michigan, and before the leaves turn. So I think this team has a lot to prove. I mean, they're like 13-12 in their last 25 games. They collapsed last year, and there's been disconnects in the program. Let's face it. And I just want to see if all those things can be tied together. What kind of leadership you're going to have. You got a veteran quarterback that ought to be a mentor. Their backup quarterback situation has to be better than it was last year when it was totally exposed at Iowa and the season fell apart. But there are a lot of reasons to be positive. You got really good receivers, tight ends. They have an experienced place kicker coming back in Pinniger who waited his turn. And some guys coming back from injury on the defensive line, a transfer from Maryland and Chop Robinson. He's going to be on the all-name team. So there are a lot of things to be excited about.
I appreciate it, Neil. He's Neil Riddell, the Altoona Mirror. You can catch him also every week on Nittany Nation Overtime. We'll now be dropping that on Mondays on the podcast, or you can catch it in Altoona State College and Johnstown at 11:30 over on WTAJ. Neil, I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Andrew.
When we come back, Anderley and I have our final thoughts. We'll wrap up the Nittany Nation Game Day season preview special. Stay with us.
Watch Nittany Nation Game Day on these great stations every week. WFXP in Erie, WHTM in Harrisburg, WPHL in Philadelphia, WYOU in Wilkes-Barre, DC News Now in Washington, and WTAJ in Altoona.
You're watching Nittany Nation Game Day.
Last time Penn State played Purdue, a 35-7 Nittany Lion win. Sean Clifford threw for 264 yards and 3 touchdowns, while Noah Cain rushed for 105 yards. Penn State is 15-3-1 all-time against the Boilermakers and have won 9 straight, dating back to 2005. Anderley, let's wrap up this Nittany Nation Game Day preview show with our players to watch this season. Let's start with offense. Who do you want to highlight?
I think Mitchell Tinsley is my guy to watch on offense. He brings a whole bunch of experience as the Nittany Lions look to replace Jahan Dotson. His experience, poise, and athleticism, I think, should set him apart this year.
My broken record is for Kevon Lee. I said his name a half dozen times last year at least. He averaged 4.9 yards per carry last season. That's good. And he should have had a bigger role in the offense last year. I think he finds that role this year.
And on the other side of the ball, I'm watching Curtis Jacobs. The Nittany Lions lost a ton of quality defensive players to the NFL draft, a good problem to have. And there really isn't a good standout linebacker just yet. I'm watching to see if Jacobs can be the next LBU great.
And I'm going to pick Jair Brown. We didn't talk much today about this secondary, but it can be elite. He's the captain of that back half and led the nation in picks 1 year ago. With that, we are out of time. Penn State plays Purdue on Thursday. No game day show beforehand, so we'll be back ahead of the Ohio game September 10th, the Penn State home opener. For Anderley Penwell, I'm Andrew Clay. Thanks for watching.